The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. On that day, as evening drew on, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us cross to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took Jesus with them in a boat as he was, and other boats were with him. A violent squall came up, and waves were breaking over the boat, so it was already filling up. Jesus was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. They woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Quiet, be still." The wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith?" They were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, whom even the wind and sea obey?" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, first of all, happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. We praise God that we get the gift of having our fathers. And as I was preparing this homily, I couldn't help but think what was going on with like that Bruce Jenner thing. And I'm like, okay, how did we get there? How has society gotten to the point where we're doing crazy stuff like that? And unfortunately, the world suffers because of it. I call him Bruce because that's his name. That's who he is. His DNA still's got a X and a Y chromosome. He hasn't changed anything, really. So, but it kind of got me thinking a little bit because it does have its part to play in fathers and how we view fatherhood, how we view humanity, who we are as human beings. And it kind of reminded me, I remember about, 15 years ago, I'd always hear people say about the animals, well, they're people too, they have emotions. Okay, animals have emotions, yes, they do, but that doesn't make them people. Our whole world is geared on our passions, our emotions. It's like everything is about our emotions. And there are even a lot of people who will say reality in all truth is based on your emotions. There's actually people who actually believe that. This is actually false. And we don't have to go very far to see it. Like we look at TV, the music, and all this other stuff. Oh, we make people cry. And okay, you made people cry. You really didn't do anything. We don't need that. So what did God create our emotions, our passions? When we have our passions, why did God create us with our passions? What do the passions do? What do they serve? So first of all, it cannot discover truth. There's a limitation to it. Truth is not founded in the emotions or in our passions. Truth cannot, our emotions can't discover truth, okay, or make a truth. As much as I feel right now that, whatever, in the middle of wintertime, if we want it to be warmer and we feel like we want it to be warmer out, it doesn't work. It doesn't make it warmer out, does it? And in the summertime, when it gets to be real hot, July, August, we want it to be cooler out. By our emotions wanting it to be cooler, it doesn't make it cooler out, does it? Our emotions can't make anything happen by itself. So it does not discover truth. However, what it does do, it allows us to enter into the truth, into reality. So in the middle of wintertime, when it's freezing out, our emotions tell us, this really stinks. I'm freezing my butt off. I don't like it. And that's what allows us to enter that reality. Now, in the middle of summer, the fact that water freezes at 32 degrees, we might like that fact because we get to have a refrigerator. We are obedient to the laws of nature. We make something, a refrigerator or a freezer, to have so that we can preserve ice cream or ice cubes. And then therefore we can benefit from that. And then we can enter into that truth and say, this is a good thing. I love ice cream. This is great that water freezes at 32 degrees. So then it becomes a positive experience of that reality. So our emotions cannot tell us the reality itself, but allows us to enter into the reality. Give you another example, because this is where we get tripped up in a lot of arguments. I'll give you an example here. Father Barr gets out of his car, slams the door, and walks away. That's the reality. That's what happens. Two people might be witnessing this event. One person might be thinking, boy, did you see Father Barr slam the door and walk away in a huff? Oh, wow, did you see how angry he was? The person next to him might be thinking, Father Barr should fix his door so he doesn't have to slam it. So we interpret reality through our emotions. Whenever we get caught up in the gossip, that's what happens. How many family arguments are caused by our emotions, our passions running amok? And in fact, it is our passions that cause a person to have adultery. It is our passions running amok that allows us to have anger towards someone. We do something we regret, that causes arguments. It is our passions run amok that creates war. So when we allow our emotions or our passions to let it go, and we allow our passions to tell us what is right, we suffer. Now, this is a very backwards way of thinking compared to the way the world thinks. Because the world says, if it makes you feel good, do it. Have it your way. I did it my way. Do whatever you want as long as it makes you happy. And this is the very thing that causes suffering. This is why Bruce Jenner is suffering. He can try to change things or whatever attributes he's got. He's still Bruce. And he can't run away from himself. And the more we try to run away, the deeper the pain. So you see, in following our passions, we don't make the world a better place. If anything, because of our sins, when our passions run amok, the actions we do are not more human, but are inhumane. So that's why we have the way God created us. How did God create us? Before the fall, we had the intellect, the passions, and the will. These are the powers of the soul. We all have a mind. We have an intellect which is geared towards truth. Our intellect finds truth. And then once we find that truth, we can enter into it passionately. Our passions are not a bad thing. It's not an evil, but it has to be guided by what is true, what is right, what is just. When we come under that guidance of the intellect, then everything is right. And then it becomes an integrated act. The whole soul is involved and the whole body is involved. Rather, when the world says just the passions must guide everything, that's when everything gets lopsided and we hurt others and ourselves. And this is actually a lot of the problem with a lot of people who have homosexual tendencies, because their wound in their soul is to the passions. Their passions taken to another place. And they keep repeating this act, which actually deepens the wound. The church doesn't hate these people. The church loves these people and calls them back to God to follow the truth. The truth, whether it's scientific truth, spiritual truth, or moral truth. There is truth in all three of those realms. And when we become obedient to them, there is great joy. Just like when we have ice cream in the middle of summer. We are obedient to the laws. And there is joy. So this is what we have. Now the world would like men to shut up. Would like men to not be what they are. They want a whole bunch of emotional goobly gobbly goop, crying or whatever it is. No. Men need to be men. What is it to be a man? What is it to be a father? I know a lot of people are going to be upset about this, but the father, the man of the house, is to be the head of the household. The woman is to be the heart of the household. This does not demean women by any means. We are judged. How are we judged? What is the greatest commandment? The greatest commandment. To love thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy strength. And the second is like it. To love thy neighbor as thyself. Women, by being the heart of the family, you are responsible in helping them as an equal to your spouse to get everybody to heaven. The family will be judged by the heart, by the way they love. Very, very, very important. God made it the first commandment, the most important. But as men, you need to lead your family. How do you lead your family? Prayer. Pray. Pray with your family. Lead your family to prayer. Lead your family to God, because that's what it's about. You're not there. You're not married to earn the bacon. That's not what God designed a father or a husband to be. Designed you to love as you should, to bring your family to heaven. And you do that primarily through prayer, by the way you live out your life. That's what it means to be a true man. So fathers, it means being a servant. Talk about backwards. You want to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? You want to be the leader? Be the servant. Look what Jesus did, the man. He died. He got up on the cross. That's an awesome act of love. And then, wives, you are that motor that drives your husband to love. If you're not loving, the engine is broken. It's not propelled. So that's how husband and wife, as equals, work together to bring their children and each other to heaven. That's an awesome gift. Awesome gift. So that means it's flipped upside down. It means, like, people look at the church and say, oh, the Pope's on top, and you got the bishops and the priests and the ladies on the bottom. They're at the bottom of the... No, it's actually flipped upside down. The ladies on top, and then everybody else serves the laity so that you can get to heaven. I mean, that's what the family unit is. The family unit is a model of the church. The Pope is there as our head, but does what he needs to do to get you to heaven, you, his children. That's what I am here to do, to get you, my children, to heaven. The father, what are you to do? To get your children to heaven. That means you serve them spiritually. And that's the first most important thing, is to serve them spiritually. But to serve them in general. So, men, when it's raining out, pull up your car, drop off your wife right here in front of the car so she doesn't have to walk through the rain. When it's cold outside, pull up right here, right in the back, so she can come right in here with your children and get out of the cold so they don't get a cold. That's what you do. Hold the door open for your bride. It might be good to, when having a meal, don't just gobble everything up right away. Wait for the rest of your family to get there and sit down with you and have a conversation. These are ways in which you serve your family spiritually. Listen to what your wife says. Listen, respect her. Give her her dignity. Give your children your dignity. This is the greatness of God. This is the greatness of what he meant men to be and fathers. It's not about a bunch of emotions. Through our emotions leads to sin and regrets. But when we follow Jesus Christ in the truth, there is where we have the mind of God, where we have the wisdom, the counsel, the knowledge, the prudence to do His will. And in that are absolutely no regrets.